there's a long lasting halo impact as each episode gets downloaded through time. And then, your direct traffic jumps, it's definitely very advantageous to leverage it as an avenue.
Welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast with your host, Chris Anderson. In this show, Chris and his guests will share their knowledge and experience on how to go from zero to successful entrepreneur. They have built their businesses from scratch and are now ready to give back to those who are just starting. Let's get ready to learn, grow, and elevate our businesses. And now, your host, Chris Anderson.
Today, we're going to be diving into the topic of paid advertisement, paid social media, paid search, and taking your business to the next level through those means. And we brought on experts to dive into that, dive into his story and things he has overcome in his journey. So I'm excited to chat with this individual today. So he's done a lot, he's doing a lot, and he is the founder and CEO of Digicom. Hemant Varshney, welcome to Elevate Media Podcast, man.
Chris, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here today.
For sure. Yeah. Looking forward to diving into this topic and learning more just about, paid media, paid social media, advertising, things of that nature, and your journey and how you become successful, things you've overcome. But first, kind of to break things open, a little icebreaker for you, random question. So excited to hear your answer on this and just get things rolling. So who is your favorite evil villain?
So great question. Maybe Bane from Batman. He's just like the super jacked guy, pretty smart, does some crazy things. I guess him, or actually, if I change my answer, I would say Loki, because Loki is not. He's mischievous and cool and in, but then flips the script and flips back, so one of those two.
That's awesome. Good answers. I like that. I was actually, when I asked that question, my first thing that popped in my head was Joker before you started talking. So that was funny. You picked Bane. So pretty good. Bane's a good one. Loki's definitely a good one. So cool. That's pretty awesome. And you went both DC and Marvel. You had both sides of the spectrum. So everyone's happy listening who either side they're on. So oh, that's good. So, well, cool, man. So I guess, paid advertisement, that's a big topic. So we can definitely break it down some, but for a lot of people, that is kind of an overwhelming topic. There's a lot to it. Facebook, you can't say certain things on your ads, things like that. So if someone was just starting out, where would you guide them to even begin with any sort of paid media, paid marketing, where to begin?
Okay, so for any brand that's just launching, right? The first thing I would say is figure out what your budgets are. Are you going to spend $1,000 a month? Are you going to spend $2,000 a month? And go with the understanding of I'm going to test, I'm going to learn, I'm going to iterate. And I'm going to, keep walking down towards the defining targets. Why this is important? It's because sometimes you'll have founders or folks that are maybe moonlighting a company and they're like, oh, okay, cool. I made this cool product. We got a bunch of products shipped over from China or wherever in the world, right? Or I hand created these products, or it could be a service. And I'm going to put $500 in for the month. And if it doesn't work, paid doesn't work, right? And the reality is the way paid advertising, the way you get to targets, it's your first month is going to be your most expensive month because you don't know what creatives work. You don't know what resonates with that consumer. You don't know if your targeting is correct. You don't know if the website you're driving to works properly. Does that checkout flow even work and at scale, right? So there's a number of different things you're looking at. If you're going to jump into paid, first think about your budget and flight your budget for a 3-month plan and a 6-month plan, and then create targets, right? If I spend $1,000, I want to make $2,000, right? Well, as of 2, or if I spend $1,000 and I get 100 customers from it, I have a $10 cost per acquisition. These are metrics towards you want to work to. You're not going to hit them in most cases in month 1. You'll probably, get close to them by month 3. And this is if it's like a paid advertising, professionally. But by the time you get to month 6, you should be at target.
Cool.
And if you're not at target, then it's like, how do you make the unit economics work? So do you bring down the cost of product? And then the last part of this that I wanted to add is, for the most part, I like to test 50% of my budget with Facebook and 50% of the budget with Google.
Okay.
Understand Meta does a great job of identifying users and, driving users that are ready to convert, creating that awareness. And then Google traffic is bottom of funnel, people who have an intent to purchase. So if you have the right keywords and setup, you can drive conversions through both. And then over time, as you figure things out, you could change that split.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you recommend people doing this on their own or not? Is it not worth it unless they're like really, like, I don't know, is it even worth doing it on your own? Or should you do it when you're ready to hire someone to do it for you?
No, if you're like, the thing is, if you're spending like $1,000 or $2,000, yes, if you have somebody that is experienced in it, will it go further? Absolutely. Or in most cases, it will, right? The thing is, though, it is important for entrepreneurs to just understand the mechanics of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, you can go to YouTube University and pull content and learn a bunch of different things and then launch some campaigns, or have a consultant guide you through, certain parts of it. The goal for you as an entrepreneur, though, isn't to run these campaigns. Ultimately, it's to have a team to run it for you so you can focus on parts of the business. If you're, strapped on, like you're bootstrapping your company, it might be advantageous to start to do a little bit on your own, understand the platform, then bring on a consultant. Maybe that $1,000 budget is really $500. Learn a couple things, and then you hand it off to somebody that's like an expert. It just depends on what your budgets are.
Gotcha. Okay. So if they're starting out, what's a good way to, what are some good ways to kind of target the people they're trying to target? Like, what's the best way to figure that out besides YouTube? Like, if they know who their audience is, is it better? I guess my question is getting to, is it better to sell straight from the ad, or should they direct them into like the lead magnet funnel type thing?
It depends on the product or service. Okay. If your product is low price point and, you're directly able to sell the product directly. If it requires education, then you might need a lead funnel. It really depends on like the, product or service. So, and in these two examples, I will say that if you're selling a face cream, that's $12, sell it directly. But, if you're selling like a coaching class, well, then you'll probably need a lead funnel, because that coaching class is like $5,000, $10,000. So you need to nurture the leads. You need automation set up. There's just a lot of different things that, are needed.
Gotcha. Yeah. Is there a limit you would say, or you would recommend, like, that they need to switch to lead funnel, 12 to 5,000? Is there somewhere that you're like, this is probably when you need to start doing the lead funnel versus just selling?
So I would say this is a good question in the sense, like, if it's like products that we're selling, then I would say, like $500. If like that's the price point, $1,000, but then you could have like high-end luxury goods that will just sell. But like overall, like $500 to $1,000. Typically items that are, more than $100, people do a lot of research on it. So they want to read content. They want to read reviews. So ensuring that all of that is set up, if someone Googles your product, they're able to read reviews, they're able to get this content. That's also very important. So, maybe that's a step one before going live on paid, setting up all the email automation. That could be a step two. Always ensuring that your organic socials have content in them. That should be before paid goes live. So there's a number of different things you should have set up and going. And, if you have a product that's like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, chances are you might want to speak to someone unless there's I just bought a robo vacuum cleaners at it's like $1,000, and mops and sweeps. And I watched 2 hours of YouTube videos to be like, okay, I can justify spending this much money on this thing. And,
Right.
so the content should be out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And making it easy for them to access and get to and try to, answer those questions that they might have before they even either get on a call or get to the sales page.
Yeah.
So with is there other forms, obviously we think of social media, we think of Meta or we think of Google as far as ads go. Are there other avenues that work well, at least maybe in today's market that you've seen that work well for paid advertisement that might not be Meta or Google?
Yeah. So you have the Meta of the world, Google, of course, TikTok, we run Twitter, we run Snapchat, we run Pinterest, we're on Quora, we run on Yahoo, we're on YouTube, we're using GDN, AdRoll, Criteo. So there's a number of different advertising channels that we leverage. But I think something we do very unique though is there's direct to site ads, right?
Yep.
So the ad comes from the brand. You click on the ad, you get to a landing page. Influencer UGC, that's been kind of popping off the last couple years. But influencer, the way we like to run it is we whitelist the influencer. So we're running an ad from that influencer's handle, not just taking, a creative that it's like, hey, I tried this product, it's great, coming from the brand, it's coming from the influencer. And then you're clicking through to a landing page and have seen that work really well just because it's native. But the important thing for brands that are looking for these types of partnerships, it's ensure that influencer you want to work with represents your brand values. You can, I think that's important. Or having, building some sort of inbound strategy for influencers, hey, would love to work with you. Here's what our brand represents. Would love to chat how you fit the mold or something of that nature.
Gotcha.
I think, those activations are important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Utilizing, those brands or those influencers or well-known or bigger kind of people out in the marketplace. It's a good way to do it. With that, how do you structure those? If you reach out to them and say, hey, would love to partner with this and use your basically testimonial, right?
Yeah.
To push as an ad. How does that setup even work?
Yeah. So there's a few different ways to do it, but it's very important to have a contract. So, you could reach out, hey, love your page, love what's going on here. We are XYZ brand. We're looking to do a collaboration, happy to give you free product. The influencer might come back and say, hey, would love the free product, but I charge X per post. And, we'll likely want to go back and say, hey, cool, we want to whitelist you. And so set that up in a contract term where, both you and the influencer agree, always have it in contract. And then from there, you can move to here's the content creation portion. Typically it's if you're doing research on the influencer or the content creator, it's the right partner. They have your brand values. You don't have to script everything out. You might just be like, hey, if you like these about the product, call it out. But, if you don't find the value in that, call out, be as authentic as possible. That's important. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then you basically can just run that either through their page or even on your page however the contract is set up. And basically they give more validity to what you're putting out there.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
And then in addition to that, in our distribution strategy, we also like running sponsored content. So we have a publication. It's called The Lux Blogger. We create articles about brands, who they are, what they do, why you need them. We sponsor the content on there. And then we drive traffic from The Lux Blogger about the brand to this article. You read, you get a better understanding of, the product and service, and then you click through. So our distribution strategy leverages direct to site, influencer, and sponsored across the various ad platforms.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah. And it's so dynamic. There's so much pieces that you could build into it as you go. And so just trying to figure out, what the fit is, what's the best fit for you is. And a lot of our clients are ones with podcasts. And so do you see a benefit, or have you worked with podcasters who want to just basically get their show out in front of more people? Is that a good pathway to take?
Yeah, highly recommend D2C brands jumping on podcasts. There's a number of different ways to connect with different podcasts. There's services and platforms that you can reach out to folks on. There are agencies you can work through. The nice thing is when brands do get on podcasts and talk, we typically see a lot of, we definitely see sales that occur, but there's a long lasting halo impact as each episode gets downloaded through time. And then, your direct traffic jumps, it's definitely very advantageous to leverage it as an avenue.
Gotcha. Now with that, is it better for podcasters to create a video of them explaining their show, or if they have a video podcast, just like push a clip from their show? Or do you see there's a better structure for that for podcast shows?
Yeah. So like a clip of maybe your discussion, can be a form of ad, but that's something you want to test through to see if it works for your brand, right? Like if there's a specific portion where you're jumping in and you're talking about the product benefits and that could be an ad, like, sure. It's just more, have to test through for each of the brands.
Gotcha. Cool. That makes sense. And it's all trying to balance like, profit margins and your budget. And because it's definitely can be a benefit is getting in front of more people, in a quicker pace, kind of like being a guest on podcasts. What we push out is, if you're getting on a show as a guest speaking, you're in front of their audience that they've built. So it's one organic way to get in front of a lot of people quicker and hopefully convert some to at least people in your audience. So
yeah. And it also can position you as like a thought leader in the specific industry you're in.
You love listening to podcasts, but have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Maybe you want to build a brand, grow your business, or are looking for an excuse to talk about your favorite hobby. Whatever your reason for making a podcast, Buzzsprout is the place to start. Since 2009, Buzzsprout has helped over 300,000 people launch their own podcasts. Buzzsprout walks you step by step through the whole process and will give you powerful tools to start, grow, and monetize your podcast. Ready to get started? Click the link in the show notes to get our free step-by-step guide to starting your podcast today.
yeah, and that's definitely a good position to work towards and continue. And with that, like you said, having the things in place. So like your content needs to be there. And so having that to be able to show, it just increases your credibility and your expertise in the eyes of those listening, the people that you're trying to have purchase from you or come and be part of your audience. So
yeah.
Now I know if someone is starting to do, let's stick with social media, Meta, if they're starting to try to tinker around with starting ads, are there any major like no-nos that they need to know about so they don't get kind of whatever it is, Facebook jail or just not good results?
Yeah. So if you are talking about anything to do like in the adult category, in like alcohol category, in any sort of like medicine, the medical category, and then there's also like finance, credit, real estate, like all of these categories, there are a number of different keywords that, that are available online that maybe you should stay away from, because as you launch every ad, Facebook is crawling this information and can essentially disable your ads, right? And enough of these occurring, your ad accounts can get shut down. But if you're not in any of these categories, just kind of staying away from any curse words.
Okay.
That's really it. And then within each industry, there might be certain laws, right? Like finance is heavily regulated. So using the word luxury next to or exclusive next to something else that is not actually exclusive, you might get dinged for certain things. So just understanding what's going on in your own vertical might save you a lot of legal dollars.
Interesting. And is there a place to like learn and find out like what industry like words you should stay away from for your ads? Is there a location for resources like that?
So we kind of Google online to see like, and sometimes it takes a while and it is a rabbit hole. Yeah. Just like wish there was just a site where I could be like, hey, these are the keywords that stay away from. I don't have that. More through research. And sometimes our ads get rejected or blocked too, right? So it's like we speak to the Facebook reps. We're like, oh, okay, we understand why.
Gotcha. Okay. And I know Facebook has like an ad library, right? That you can go and see what's been working for people well and kind of get an idea there.
Yeah, it's great. Facebook ads library. You could just Google it. You'll get a link. You search up a brand or a page and you can see ads they're running. You can see when they launched. If, chances are if they launched something like 3 months ago and it's still live, it's doing well. So, you can draw inspiration from competitors. You can draw inspiration from brands that are nowhere in your vertical, but they're doing some, developing cool creatives that you want to, maybe replicate. Like, it's a great way to get inspiration.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good resource if people don't know about to just, get inspiration, get ideas. So is there a certain level like cost per click or something, or cost per like on Facebook, like an ad gets, like what is a good average cost per user click or whatever it is?
Okay. So this also will, it'll depend sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, because like on Facebook, right? So auction strategy is typically CPM, which you're bidding on, per 1,000 impressions, and Facebook determines what that per 1,000 impression cost is based on your click-through rate, how your landing pages load, your quality score that Facebook provides you with. And so, your CPC can range from like $1.50 to like $4 or $5. It really depends.
Okay.
And then it gets even more complex because you're driving a conversion campaign or a traffic campaign or an awareness campaign. They're all different algorithms where awareness is set to show your ads to as many net new people as possible, the cheapest cost possible, cheapest cost per reach. Traffic is to get you in front of the users who are most likely to click on your ad. And then, maybe they'll bounce off your page. And then you have conversion algorithm, which is you're most likely to take that specific event action, like a lead or a conversion or a purchase. And the CPMs, if you run to the exact same audiences, are starkly different. It might be like $2, $10, $50. Like, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you really got to kind of do some research within your market, and it feels like some trial and error, which is fine. I think we have to do that to improve and to innovate what we're doing. But yeah, I think for a lot of people, it can just seem kind of overwhelming. So just kind of starting, I don't know, you might agree with this or not, but in that ad library, just find people in the industry and see kind of what they're putting out there. And then kind of building your own from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they're like targets you should be going after, your CPMs are going to range by campaign type, by the creative you have up. So can't really speak too much to that unless it's about a specific vertical. But if you're looking for a click-through rate, you want to aim at 1%. That's typically, if you can get to the 1% range, you're doing pretty good. There are certain levels where, you'll be closer to 2% or 3%. And then in terms of conversion rates, most brands want to be at like this 2-3% conversion rate on Facebook. That's like the majority of brands. There's some brands like time to time we often run audits and with all the partners we're working with. And, we're seeing 6% like conversion rate, which is incredible. And we'll see like their click-through rates at like 0.4%. So we know we need to do a better job of matching the creative and audience. So let's understand, okay, if it's a parenting audience, then the creatives are focused towards parenting, right? So that allows us to learn what to do as a kind of a next step. Yeah. But those are the two rates you want to kind of benchmark towards at first.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's good to know. And this is, like I said, we could have an episode going for hours and hours on this stuff because there is so much kind of dive in and break down and structure and things like that. So what you've provided on this episode has been amazing, Hemant, and I just appreciate that. To kind of wind things down as we close off the episode a little bit, a couple questions I'd like to ask.
Wow.
The first one being, if you could spend an hour or two with anyone in the world, dead, alive, or fictional, who would you choose to spend that time with and talk with, and why?
I would love to spend an hour speaking to Ray Dalio. Yeah, and the reason why it's because, um, all the things he's done in finance has been really cool, but I think what's even cooler is like the books he's written about, like principles of building a company, like talking about transparency, the baseball cards. Like there's just so many ideas in there that I think are absolutely incredible. He's also gone through so many different business cycles where he's like in his own career, started building a company, started getting on, TV and doing some shows. And then kind of like his company came crashing down and he started as employee number one again after building it up. And then now he owns the largest private hedge fund in the world. So I think just kind of talking to him about his journey and asking him questions like, hey, like, during the hard times, like, what did you do? Like, and, what are like pieces of advice that you think are important? He talks a lot about this on his Instagram and whatnot, but I think like he's a fascinating and remarkable human being just with all of the different things he's done in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah. I think that'd be definitely a great conversation to have. And kind of with that, you talk about his journey and things he's overcome and stuff. Like, what is one big obstacle in your life or in your business journey that you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Big obstacle. So, our business agency life is very much a seesaw, right? Like Chris, you know this very well. It's a seesaw of your onboarding clients, and then you need to ensure you have the right talent to sell the business, to support the business. Or on the flip side, you have like loss of clients. And so now you have, staffed up your overall revenue, might be dropping. So it's like, I think understanding your cash flow and understanding how you can forecast, because like in agency life, unless you have contracts that, I know contracts aren't set up like this, but like a contract where you're set up to work with the partner like a year out, it's hard for you to continuously forecast what revenue looks like. So we only forecast 2 months ahead. We have targets of like how many partners we're trying to onboard a month. Are we hitting those targets? Like if we're not, here are the things we're doing different this month to like go out and, keep growing the business. But then it's that revenue forecast of, are we up? Okay, if we're slightly down, how do we adjust?
Right.
So I think it's very important for every business owner to understand what cash flow looks like, not just in terms of, hey, I sent an invoice out. It's on average, how long are your invoices getting paid in? It's very important to like sustain growth. And we've grown, pretty quickly. We've gone from like one person, which was me, to like 16 in about like 2.5, 3 years. So yeah, very fortunate about that, but it's just understanding, your cash flow is very important.
Yeah, for sure. I get that. So, and thanks for being transparent and sharing that. So, and everything else, Hemant, that you've shared in this episode has been phenomenal. Where can people connect with you, find you, and learn more about what you do?
Sure. Check out our website, digicom.io. Our socials are digicom and then .io or _io. And, if you have any questions about paid ads, please feel free to email me at heyman@digicom.io.
Awesome. Yeah, everybody get connected with them, especially if you're looking into, paid advertisement, things of that nature. Again, Hemant, thanks so much for being on the Elevate Media podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Elevate Media podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. See you in the next episode.